Morning, this is your Friday workout. So we're going to start with lunges, actually, just a set of static lunges. So make sure that you are hip distance apart. You might want to kneel to find your correct position. Ideally, this knee should be under the hip and this heel should be under this knee, so that you've got two square angles when you come down into your lunge. Okay, so we're just doing a basic static lunge. We'll do about 7 or 8 of these just to warm up the legs. We're going to do 3 lots of leg exercises today, 1 upper body and 2 abdominal exercises. Actually, I just thought we'd throw a whole lot in. I don't know how many I've done, but I think I'm going to do 1 more. We're just trying to warm the legs up, essentially. So switch, make sure you've got those 2 square angles. Hip distance apart, keep the big toe down in the front foot. Putting a bit of pressure on that will help you balance. Whoops, she says, falling over. That ankle, every time, just about. Every time I walk, actually, it makes a noise. Oops. All right. Okay. Then let's go down. We're going to warm up for press-ups. So just come onto the, I would imagine, the half position. Get the arms relatively wide. And then just bring yourself into a warm-up for it. So just a few, just to give the brain an idea of what's to come and the muscles. I'm going to do 1 more. Okay. And then what we're going to do is start with our Romanian split squat. So this is the most taxing of the 3 exercises we've got going. So I've got a cushion on my chair because it's uncomfortable otherwise. If you were using a couch, it should be comfy enough. So I'm going to put my back foot up. My front foot is with the heel under the hip or under the pelvis, okay? And then as I come down, I'm going to try and shift my weight between both legs. I'm going to come up and straighten my knee. My chair is a little bit high. I've said this before. It's also very creaky. So excuse the noises from my chair. You're going to try and straighten in between, and you're going to drop your weight between both legs as you go down, so that you're almost getting that back knee on the floor. All my weight is through the front. Sorry, the pressure is through the front, so I'm feeling that front glute. So I'm going to push the floor away with that front leg as I come up. Although, as I say, my weight is evenly distributed, but I've got to use that front leg as where the work is happening on the way up. I'm going to make that the last one. Okay. And then you'll want to shake the legs out. It's quite something going from one side straight to the other. It's easier if you're on, as I say, something a little bit lower. So a couch is a perfect height for this exercise. Okay, hip distance apart. Whoops. And then coming into even weight between both legs. The front leg is doing the work on the way up. Keep trying to imagine pushing the floor away with that front leg. It's quite a good way to make sure that the glute is switched on. So you're driving. I don't know if that was an even number, but it feels like enough to me. We're going to come down into press-ups. So you may want to go into a full press-up position if that's your bag. Of course, your easiest position is with the butt in the air. Okay, you can then take yourself into a half plank or into a full plank, or with your feet up on a chair if you want to go really, really advanced. Okay, and then you're just coming down into your press up. Try and relax the shoulders and the neck and the back. I think that was 10, I'm not 100% sure. You may have established I'm a really useless counter because I'm doing too much talking while I'm going. I'm moving fairly swiftly. There's lots to do. I'm back on the chair. That front heel is under my pelvis. You can, as you can see, I'm using the wall every now and then. If you can't get all the way down, maybe you've got a knee issue or something going on, you just take it as far as you can. So ideally the weight is dropped back. Again, you can place a finger on the wall if you want to. If you've got an issue with this exercise altogether because maybe you've got a really bad knee and it just doesn't work with weight on one leg, you can do the static lunge. It's a hard enough workout, or exercise should I say, that static lunge is a really good one. It's lovely for training the legs evenly, so one can just stay with that exercise. There's nothing wrong with it. I'm just putting these in for variety. It's nice to get to do different stuff. Oh. I'm going to do one more after this, I think. And push the floor away. Okay. Whoops, wrong leg. I definitely don't want to do that one again. Make sure your hip distance apart. Heel is under the pelvis. And then when you're ready, go for it. If you're working like me on quite a high chair, as you come to the top, you want to just tuck your shoulders forward slightly so you're not overarching in the lower back. So just bring your chest forward. Make sure you're pushing with that front leg. I would also look down every now and then and check that the middle of the kneecap is falling over the second toe and that the kneecap isn't falling in towards the big toe or even inside of the big toe. That's not good at all. That's very poor tracking. You want to be switching this on so that it externally rotates the quadriceps slightly, which means that your knee will get into the right position. I'm going to do one more. Okay, back to press ups. Into position, whatever position it is that you're going for. Make sure if you're doing the full position that you're in a plank. In other words, the shoulders, the hips, the knees, the ankles are all in line with one another. That was 10 for me. Now we're doing one last set of the Bulgarian split squat. Okay, so back foot up. Make sure that front heel is underneath the pelvis. And then we go. I'm going to do 2 more. And you should feel that back leg really working too. It's that extended position. As you come up and you extend, ooh, you want to, well, you will feel it, essentially is what I'm saying. So you always want to straighten up that quadricep. And I notice actually a lot of clients, when I'm watching them, tend to want to not straighten the knees in a lunge. In any given lunge, they tend to be quite lazy about it. It's not lazy, it's just poor technique. So you must straighten up both quadriceps. You want them working. They can't fully engage if you haven't contracted them fully. Any muscle, it's the same thing. You can't half engage a muscle and expect it to be challenged fully through its full range of movement. I'm not sure how many I'm on, but I'm going to do 2 more. I think this is correct. Anyone's guess though. Oh. Okay. All right, so we're into our 3rd proper set of press-ups. So find your version. Belly button pull to spine. Okay, now we're going to do what's called clock squats. I don't know why they're called squats. You might as well call them clock lunges. Let me just move this so it's out of the way. We've done this before. So I'm going to do a front lunge. Okay, which is going to land me 2 square angles. Then I'm going to do the same front lunge, but I'm going to take it twice as wide as it was. So I'm not pulling back in distance. I'm doing the same front lunge, I'm just opening it up. Okay, still got 2 square angles. My hips are facing front, but my legs are wider, and I'm going to open my knees so that they don't fall inwards, like so. I'm opening them. Now my side lunge is straight to the side. I'm going to drop my chest slightly so I feel the stretch through here. Okay, that was 3 o'clock. Now I'm going to do a 5 o'clock, which is going to be twice as wide as a back lunge. So it's a back lunge, but it's slightly wider. Got my knees open so that they are tracking over the middle of the foot. And then I'm going to do a 6 o'clock behind me. So that's straight back. Now carry on in the clock. So 6 o'clock behind me again. Now I'm going to do a 7 o'clock, which is slightly wider, but still the same length. So it's still a back lunge, it's just slightly wider in front. Now to the side, 9 o'clock. I'm stretching through here, my chest is dropped slightly. I come back. Now I'm doing 11 o'clock. So it's a front lunge, slightly wider. Okay, still 2 square angles. My knee is open. I'm not dropping it in like so. It's over the second toe. Now I'm going to do front, 12 o'clock. 2 square angles. I go around again, 12 o'clock. Now 1 o'clock. So still front lunge. Be careful, don't do this. A lot of my clients do that because they think they're squatting. They're not. They're lunging. The knee is down. It's pointing right down. To the side, 3 o'clock. 5 o'clock. Wide, long lunge. Now 6 o'clock. Now 6 o'clock again, switch sides. Now 7 o'clock. Same length, just wider. 9 o'clock. 11 o'clock. Front lunge, just a little wider. And all the way to the front. 12 o'clock. And push back. Okay, we're going to do one more set of press-ups. I know I said 3 sets, but 4 on the press-ups, and then we'll come back to these lunges. So, into position, whatever position you prefer. You can always drop to your knees if you need to, just to push a few more out. And then when you're finished, come up again. All right, and we're back to the clock lunge. And remember, the other thing is you don't want this moving. So there should be no action in the upper body. It's all in the lower leg, the lower body. So here, 12 o'clock. Now I'm going 1 o'clock. So same length. It's a front lunge, but it's wider. 3 o'clock. Now 5 o'clock. So open the knees. Keep the hips facing front the whole way through. There's no change. This is a back lunge. Back lunge again. I'm doing 7 o'clock, back lunge, just wider. Now I'm taking it to 9 o'clock. Drop. Now I'm going 11 o'clock, which is a front lunge, only wider. Open the knees to the front. Make sure you don't use the chest. I go around again. My chest stays still. 1 o'clock. 3 o'clock. 5 o'clock. I'm a little bit tight here. 6 o'clock. 6 o'clock again. Now 6 o'clock, slightly wider. Sorry, 7 o'clock. And then 9 o'clock. 11 o'clock. My hips are still facing front. Front. Okay, bring that mat back. We're going to do abs. So, I want you on your back. Okay, you're going to take 2 fingers on each hand, and push the fingers into the tissue just above the pubic bone. So you want to dig in there. We've got neutral spine. Remember, we're not imprinting. We're just releasing this. We're keeping it as it naturally sits, because you want this region working independently of where the pelvis is. You just want it switching on and getting stronger. Okay, so we want to stay in a neutral position. So, deep breath in. As we exhale, we pull the belly button down, and then we feel the tissue tighten underneath the fingers. Come on, switch it on. Feel it tighten. Feel it pull down. And then when you're ready, if you're a beginner, you're just going to raise without any change in the hips. There's absolutely no change here. The heel will simply come up and back down again. Okay, that's your beginner version. I've got this tissue pulled tight. This is the beginner version. The intermediate version is to bring one leg up, then to raise the second leg slowly and carefully to meet the first one, then to bring the first leg down, and to bring the second leg down. And then we just switch. So we bring one leg up, we bring the second one up, but there's still no change in the hips at all. If you were going to do the advanced version, keeping the hips completely still and keeping the belly button pulled down, because that's more important than anything else, is that you pull down, you don't push out. You do both legs. That's the advanced version. And there's no change to the posture. So my spine is still in neutral. My hips are still completely square. They haven't tilted forwards or sideways. I'm pulling my belly button down. The tissue under my fingers is so tight. Oh, it's really switched on. I'm sucking my belly button down the whole time. And then when you're finished, just relax. Okay, that one, no matter whether you're a beginner or advanced, you should be feeling that one really equally well. I can do the beginner version and feel it as much, no, not quite as much as I can in the advanced version, but I can feel the beginner version. So no matter what level you're at, you should be able to feel that. Okay, so let's go back to our clock squats one last time. It's our third set. And then we'll come back to do the TBA. So remember, I'll just work on my mat like so. So we're forward, 12 o'clock. Now we're going to do 1 o'clock, which is just as long. It's just wider. Now I'm taking it 3 o'clock. And now I'm going to go to a back lunge, slightly wider at 5 o'clock. Open the knees, straight back, 6 o'clock. Switch, 6 o'clock. Now I'm going to take it to 7 o'clock, which is just as long, but twice as wide. Then I'm taking 9 o'clock. Now I'm going 11 o'clock, which is a front lunge, just a little wider. My hips are still facing front. They haven't moved. And I'm not using my chest. I'm not swinging it around. I'm staying exactly where I need to be. I'm using my legs. I'm not using my upper body. These ones are supposed to mess with the mind. Okay, you're supposed to struggle to keep the hips facing square and change the position of the legs. It's really great for creating some extra work from the nervous system. Remember, anytime you've got that nervous system fully switched on, you're burning around about 30% more calories. So that's how much the brain uses when it's engaged. It's huge, huge amounts of fuel. Okay. Whew. Back onto your backs for the TVA again. So 2 fingers of each hand. Push into the tissue. Take a breath in. Exhale. You're going to bring one leg up and either just do the beginner version or the intermediate or advanced, whichever one you want to do. If it starts feeling easy, check that you're pulling the belly button down. Check that you're not moving the hips. And check that you haven't imprinted the spine, the lower back on the floor. If all those 3 things are perfectly fine, then you can afford to move the feet further away from the butt. So you extend that position and it becomes harder. Okay, no matter which version you do, the further away the feet are, the harder the exercise. Pull the belly button down. Oh, I saw someone at gym yesterday doing this. Oh, it's very hard for me to hold my tongue sometimes. I was with a client, so I abstained. But, I was so badly wanted to say to this person, they were just swinging their legs around. So, in fact, they were using their hip flexors to do most of the work. Rest when you need to. Yeah, so I mean, he was just swinging himself around. It was just like the legs are going like this, so the whole pelvis was tilting back and forth like that. So it's just huge amounts of hip flexor engaged and having to stabilize with. And these are not stabilizers, these are mobilizers. So it was just working the body in a terrible, terrible manner. Okay, so we're going to grab the chair and the band. Okay, I'm shoving it in the corner. I don't actually need the cushion on it now. You're going to put the band above the knees. This is a brilliant one for people with knee pain. The reason for that is because in putting the band around, you're forced to actually push against it, which means that you engage the glutes, which means the minute you engage the glutes, you take the pressure off the inside of the knee, because now you're working those hips properly. So inevitably that knee pain diminishes if you work properly in a glute position. You could do it without the band, but you wouldn't find it as easy to understand the movement. So we want to draw the heels back. I'm sitting right on the edge of my chair. I've turned my toes out very slightly. My feet are about shoulder width apart. And then I'm just going to stand up. Okay, so it's almost like I'm sitting down to have a cup of tea. I'm just going to plonk the edge of my butt on my chair, as if I was going to sit. So the mistake that people make, and it's why I never really talk about squat training, is because I don't generally say, okay, we're going to squat now. I just say to them, just imagine you're about to sit with a cup of coffee in your hand or tea. You're going to sit down on your chair, because inevitably we know where the chair is. So what we do is we just sit. Okay. What we don't do is what people do in a squat, which is drop their backs because they're not sure where they don't have the strength, or they don't know where the chair is, or it's a really, really bad habit. So you don't want anything to change in the upper body when you squat. Ideally, your chest should be up. Okay, it'll drop a little, and obviously if you've got a big weight on your shoulders, that'll change it too. But in general, it should be as if you were sitting down on your chair with no change. All the weight should be back in the heels. You right push back in the hips so the butt is right out behind you because the movement is here. This is where a squat happens. Okay. A lot of my clients, when they first start, they want to do that action. They drive their hips forward and then they try and bend into the squat this way. So they have to drop the back in order to do it. You want to squeeze the butt, push against the band, take your weight into your heels, and that way you don't have to drop the back. You also get into a neutral spine position. So if I turn side on, what you'll notice is that my back is arched in that position. Okay, and that's the way we reduce shock. Any pressure through the spine is caught nicely by that reverse position of the pelvis. Okay, when you finish, come down, back to TVA, last set, 2 fingers of each hand into the tissue above the pubic bone, deep breath in. Exhale, pull the belly button down towards the spine, and then whichever version you're doing, go for it. Don't change the hip position, don't change the position of the spine, don't push outwards, pull down in the belly. Keep pulling down. I'm going to do one more. So that should be killing you. Oh, by the time you get to around 8, remember, 8's our magic number. It doesn't mean you stop at 8, it means you should be dying by 8. Maybe 10 at a push. Okay, so you need to make sure it's challenging enough that that happens. If it's not happening by 8, certainly by 10, then you're just working too easy. Remember, this is strength training. This is the point with this class, is Pilates, but it's a Pilates strength class. In other words, we use principles of strength training to get the most out of a Pilates workout. And in order to do that, you have to challenge the muscles sufficiently well to cause adaptation. And to do that, we need to stay at around about 8 to 10 repetitions. In other words, we're dying by then. We're not doing enormous numbers of repetitions because that won't hit the muscles particularly hard. So we're pushing against the band. The chest is up. I've got my weight driving right back into my heels. I'm hinging at the hip. That's where the action is for the exercise. I don't have to drop my back. I know where my chair is and my weight is far enough back. And because I've got my knees pushing out against the band, my glutes are involved, so they immediately stabilize me better and they work harder. They work as they should. 2 more. Oh, okay. So we're just going to do a reverse curl. Okay. So feet in the air. Put the hands behind the... Actually, some of you will just have your hands here. Beginner version of this is just to squeeze the knees down onto the nipples. Okay, with the pelvis coming backwards. It should be easy enough to do, but you can still feel it happening. The next level up is just to lift and lower the pelvis without any swinging of the legs. So we're not swinging overhead. That's just not going to do anything. You're lifting and lowering. If you want to do a more advanced version than that, the chest is off and you're lifting the pelvis. You're also pulling the belly button down. Pull it down. Oh, I'm going to do one more. Okay. One last set of the squats and then we're actually done. So we won't do any more of the reverse because we threw in an extra press up, but that's fine. Okay. Turn those feet out, bring the heels back so they're underneath, they're almost close to the chair. Okay, we're up. And then we're just tapping the butt to meet the chair. Weight is back, my knees are pushing against the band so that they're not dropping inwards like so. That's where the knee pain will come in. So you want to push outwards, but not so much that they go on the outsides of the feet. You want the kneecap through the center of the toe. Keep pushing against the band. Belly button pulled in. Keep that weight back. I'm going to do one more after this. Okay, now it's true. In this particular exercise, I've just spoken about doing 8 to 10 reps. You'll do more than that on this leg exercise because our legs are pretty strong. And actually it would be ideal if we had a barbell across our backs because then we could really kind of force ourselves to be a bit more challenged, but we can't do that in this class. So those you're likely to do a lot more than 8 or 9 or 10. And that's okay. That's okay. In certain exercises, it's all right. Drop your head. Just breathe 3 breaths here. Try and relax the upper body into this so that you create weight through it. You can unstack the spine. And then drop and roll up slowly. And that's your Friday workout. Thank you for joining me.